Manufacturing has had a long and prosperous history at 3M, a legacy that continues today. 3M started in 1902 in Two Harbors, Minnesota. At the time, total sales were only $120,000, and the company had around 10 employees. Fortunately, in 1904, 3M had their first big sale of corundum for $20, the beginning of the company's prosperous history. 3M was founded by 5 businessmen who planned to mine a mineral deposit for grinding wheel abrasives in Two Harbors. When these deposits proved to be of little value, they relocated to Duluth to focus on sandpaper products. The founders were formidable. The man with a cigar in his mouth was Dr. J. Danley Budd, a local physician in Two Harbors. Herman Cable was a local meat market owner. To his right is John Dwan, 3M's first secretary and a Two Harbors lawyer. And here are Henry Bryan and William McGonigal, both railroad executives. Mr. Bryan eventually became 3M's first president. This photo was taken in Two Harbors back in 1902. It marks the beginning of 3M, with miners and 3M founders grouped together. In 1903, 3M hired the first female employee, Harriet Swales. It was the beginning of 3M's commitment to diversity and equal opportunity. In 1905, something monumental occurred. 3M began manufacturing sandpaper at their original location on Lake Superior. As you know, that legacy lives on and on. When this man was hired in 1907, 3M was forever changed. William McKnight started out as an assistant bookkeeper. He quickly became a 3M sales rep and worked his way up to become president. His leadership, business acumen, and focus on customer relationships helped make 3M the world powerhouse it is today. By 1908, the company was focused on manufacturing corundum garnet, emery paper, and cloth. Most goods at that time came from the first factory in Crystal Bay, Minnesota. This is where 3M manufactured sandpaper until moving to St. Paul in 1910. Lucius Ordway had helped pave the way to 3M's eventual success by financing the company's move to St. Paul in 1910. The company move was not without problems. When 3M's equipment was moved to the St. Paul building, it overloaded the floors and fell into the basement. After that, 3M survived a difficult 9 years because of a few smart decisions. First, William McKnight encouraged sales representatives to personally talk with the customers who use 3M products. This ultimately led to important product and service improvements. Second, 3M invested $500 in a tiny laboratory to ensure the quality of their products. This was a big investment for a small company with little money, but it ultimately paid off by bringing customers consistently high-quality products. Third, 3M's 3Mite abrasive cloth became its first exclusive product and a bestseller with automakers and repair shops. Because of these key decisions, by 1917, 3M sales reached $1 million, and the company paid its first dividend. But it wasn't an easy road. In 1915, 3M was still struggling financially. The company eventually required every healthy employee to work on weekends and holidays, regardless of their position. 1915 was also the year quality control became a central issue for 3M, and formal directives were given to ensure the quality of all products. In 1916, things began to turn around for 3M. The first dividend was announced, a practice that has continued without fail for decades. By 1917, 3M began to recognize that certain customers had specific needs. That was the beginning of customized products for customers and regions. Also in 1917, 3M began implementing generic stock numbers. By the end of World War I, 3M had grown rapidly and was now a $1 million company. Now came the turbulent 20s. Jazz ruled. The League of Nations was established. Ford introduced the 40-hour workweek, and Gandhi rose as a political force in India. 3M's emphasis on product diversity and research and development rapidly increased, and two key products were focal points: wet or dry waterproof sandpaper and the beginning of the Scotch brand tape product line. Now things were really getting interesting. 3M moved into beautiful new offices in 1920. In 1921, 3M's Sandy Smooth sandpaper ad campaign began, and it became a hit for a number of years. The marketing image was a takeoff on William McKnight's face. By that point, 3M had become a truly international company, with different display cards for Canadian, American, and Spanish language orders. In 1922, 3M helped meet customer concerns by giving every order a promised shipping date. Product numbers were established in 1920 to improve efficiencies, and the first specialty department was created in 1925. Also in 1925, production of non-drying adhesive tape began. This is when 3M's commercial consumer business started to evolve, particularly with women purchasing sandpaper from auto shops. People also began buying and using wet or dry in their homes. In fact, homemakers across the country started using 3M products to clean their cookware. In 1925, 3M's long legacy for patented innovation began, when William McKnight received 3M's first patent for sanding blocks. 3M's reputation for high-quality intellectual properties certainly endures today. A number of other big changes took place during the 1920s. In 1922, two significant events took place. 3M's board approved a 2-for-1 stock split, and Robert Skillman made 3M's first business trip to Europe. By the end of the decade, in 1929, William McKnight succeeded Edgar Ober as president. That same year, 3M and 8 other U.S. abrasives manufacturers formed Durex, a joint venture holding company in England to conduct European business. Shareholders approved incorporation of 3M as a Delaware company, and the company stock was first traded over the counter. To round out that year, 3M bought Wausau Abrasives, its first acquisition, for $260,000. The 1930s was a decade of contrasts. From the Great Depression to FDR and the New Deal, the Chicago World's Fair and the Berlin Olympics. The end of the decade would see the beginning of global economic upheaval. Thanks to 3M's sound fiscal policies, the company managed to thrive during the 30s and the Great Depression. Over the course of the decade, the company expanded sales, employment, and facilities, and paid dividends every year. Another key development during the 30s was Richard Drew's realization that there was no attractive way to seal cellophane. He decided to coat samples of cellophane with 3M adhesive. As a result, Scotch cellophane tape was born, and soon hundreds of practical uses were discovered. Just like today, 3M continually introduced a number of groundbreaking pieces of technology and equipment in the 1930s. This drying rack was introduced in 1935. It may seem rudimentary now, but in 1935, this was groundbreaking technology. Here are a number of 3M's pace-setting manufacturing technologies from the 1930s: a control panel and making unit, a die cutter, an abrading test glue bond, and a tensile and stretch test unit. In 1937, another milestone occurred. Vice President Richard P. Carleton expanded 3M's commitment to research and development by establishing a central research laboratory. This ultimately led to research breakthroughs, such as reflective materials used to improve highway signs and markings. By the end of the decade, 3M had 5 diverse and flourishing businesses: abrasives, masking tape, cellophane tape, roofing granules, and adhesives. World War II and its aftermath shaped the 40s, launching the atomic age and the Marshall Plan. Penicillin appeared, and so did television, in living black and white. The 1940s brought a number of changes to 3M, particularly because of World War II. The war halted car production, so 3M sales representatives had to find new customers. Necessity breeds invention, and 3M eventually found hundreds of industrial uses for their adhesives. Because the use of machinery continued to expand after World War II, demand for abrasives continually increased. 3M's commitment to product innovation continued throughout the 1940s, resulting in products ranging from nonwoven materials to vinyl electrical tape. During the 1940s, 3M had a number of research breakthroughs. For instance, after World War II, the successful recording of Bing Crosby's radio show opened the door into the radio industry for 3M products. 3M sound recording tape, spurred by singer Bing Crosby's interest and promotion, revolutionized the entertainment industry. Other research developments included 3M Scotch-Lite reflective sheeting, which helped make nighttime driving less dangerous, Scotch disposable surgical drapes, and Mist-Lawn plastic ribbon for gift wrapping. Because production kept rapidly expanding, 3M established engineering divisions in 1945. By 1946, 3M stock was listed for the first time on the New York Stock Exchange. The 1950s was an era of the Cold War, the Korean War, and post-war recovery in Europe and Japan. England crowned Queen Elizabeth II, Edmund Hillary conquered Mount Everest, and the Salk vaccine conquered polio. During the 1950s, 3M continued to grow by creating novel products and further expanding into new business areas. For instance, an idea from 3 surgeons for an adhesive-backed surgical drape led to 3M's growing involvement in healthcare. Other new 3M products ranged from electrical connectors to Scotchgard fabric protector, Scotch commercial videotape, and Scotch-Brite scouring pads. 3M also made sure to support their employees and give back to the community. Over the course of the decade, 3M introduced its first stock purchase plan for employees and established the 3M Foundation to expand its philanthropic programs. To fuel innovation, at that time the first building at 3M Center in St. Paul, Minnesota was dedicated to housing the Central Research Labs. In the 50s, 3M took off into the world. The Durex Corporation was disbanded, and the company started its own international division to expand global operations, with a nucleus of companies in Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Mexico, and the United Kingdom. The 1960s saw a change in culture, the war in Vietnam, and the first man on the moon. Over the course of this decade, 3M further expanded offices and international presence, continued to develop new products, and saw some new changes in leadership. In 1962, the first office building was completed at 3M Center in St. Paul, Minnesota, the company's new world headquarters. Spurred by the idea that products developed to fit local needs would be most successful, 3M continued to expand international operations. They built their first research laboratory outside the United States in Harlow, England in 1963. 3M leadership changed during the 1960s with the retirement of William L. McKnight, who was named Chairman Emeritus after 60 years with the company. Also during this decade, 3M created the Carleton Society, a group created to honor outstanding technical achievements by employees. And in 1969, U.S. astronaut Neil Armstrong walked on the moon wearing space boots with soles made of synthetic material from 3M. As he made one giant step for mankind, the company stood at the threshold of new growth. During the 1970s, the war in Vietnam ended. Margaret Thatcher became Britain's Prime Minister. U.S.-Chinese diplomatic relations resumed, and a Middle East peace conference took place. This was a time of rapid financial growth for 3M due to a number of new and innovative products. 3M also became further committed to limiting waste and preventing pollution during this decade.